We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the virtual coffee connection. And let's dive right in. Amy, what would you like to accomplish today?
So ideas on making big decisions in business, like which firm to pick to move forward with a large activity.
Are you familiar with how every man is brain damaged?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, there's medical evidence for that. Obviously, when I speak to hundreds or thousands of people, all the women in the audience are like, dang, I knew that. I just didn't know there was scientific proof for it. So, yeah, in the second trimester in the womb, there's a chemical that's released in little boys that severs the right and left hemisphere to some degree. And so that's why men tend to be very left brain or very right brain, and why women go ahead and that's why women go ahead and tend to be better in language. Welcome, Nora. Man, you're a trooper. I told him you might not be on because you're having internet issues. So we have Amy and Chris on today. Thanks for pushing through that. So I'm just explaining to them on how every man is brain damaged in the womb. So women tend to do language comes from both sides of the brain. So that's why girls tend to develop faster in their language skills and are better at language because they're going back and forth. Men will often tend to be very artistic or tend to go ahead and be very mathematical. So they're either strong left or strong right. Women tend to connect it back and forth together. So there's a concept. Amy's question was, in decision making, how do you make decisions to go forward with things? So there's a concept called fuzzy logic. It's using the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain together. And so typically what I would recommend is you come up with your intuition. What's your instinct tell you?
Okay.
What's your gut feel? Come up with that decision first. Then switch over to the linear side of your brain and say, what does all the data tell me? If your instincts and the data, whatever data you have in the situation, tell you the same, then move fast.
Okay.
If they're not matching up, then you slow down. So the left side of the brain, the analytic, the linear side. So intuition has advantages over typically if I'm running into a challenge in life that I can't figure out linear wise because I'm a man and I am a stereotypical man driver, analytic driver. If I can't go ahead and come up with a linear decision, I flip over to my instincts. But I always am looking if I can get my instincts and the data to match up. If that matches up, then I move quick. If they don't, then I slow down. Like going around the corner, don't go around the corner 200 miles an hour. It's like, whoa, here, tap on the brakes, because there's flaws in instinct. People say trust your instincts. I've met a lot of people trust their instinct. It doesn't go so well. So instincts can be very flawed and data can be very flawed. Most people that tend to be like analytic, they tend to rely on the data, thinking that the more data I have to make a decision, the better the decision is. And that's not necessarily true. And so each of the, so in decision making, it's a great question. I love the question. In decision making, if there's five factors in a decision, let's say there's five factors in a decision, um, will the four of us all make the same decision if we all know about the five factors?
No, because I think our personal influence and our gut would be the differentiator.
Actually, it's not only the gut, it's going to be what we prioritize based on our personality.
Okay.
So my wife is going to value, not having conflict. She's going to not value the goals, but she'll value the harmony and not having conflict. I'm going to value the goals more than I will the other, and the long term more than the short term. So people can be happy with her in the short term. She's kind of giving in what they want, but they're not going to be happy in the long term. I can see that. And so I'm going to be more long term. And so if somebody, let's say there's five, and this is for employees or team members or whatever, if somebody, so how do you know when you've delegated properly to somebody or over delegated or under? So people tend to over delegate or under delegate. I tend to be more over delegating to people. I tend to delegate too quickly. So years ago, I'm like, how do you know when you delegated properly? It's not when you delegate and they don't make mistakes, because we all make mistakes. That's how we learn. It's you've properly delegated when the person can take ownership of something and clean it up without you. The ownership's the most important. So maybe they can't clean it up without you, but if they take ownership of it, then you're like, okay, we'll clean it up together and learn some things. And if they can't take ownership of little things, they're not going to be able to take ownership of the big things. And so that's what I would go ahead and, so if somebody you're delegating to, if they have if they have three pieces of data and there's five pieces of data, so I'll ask them, what are the factors that you have? If they can identify all five factors that I can identify, I will tend to delegate more and trust them more to make the right decision. Now, here's kind of a trick question. If somebody had three um, pieces of data, three parts of the data, and I have five parts of the data, they're three plus two more, who's going to make a better decision?
You.
You'd think so. And over the long term, yes. But in this particular situation, they might actually make a better decision because those three factors that they have might be 90% of the decision making. The
Okay.
two are just a distraction. So this,
Ah,
yeah, so it's like the more data. So a lot of times the analytic makes the mistake of so the amiable makes a mistake where they tend to go ahead and over value the short term. So when you look at the different decision making and how people look at time, how people look at time. Um, when you look at this, so the analytic will go ahead and look at the past. The driver will look at the future. The amiable or the expressive lives in the moment, and the amiable is the short term. 75% of women will be amiable and expressive, 25% of men. 75% of men will be analytic or driver, and 25% of women will be. And so, roughly, I tend to be all about the future and all about the past. And there's two purposes to the past, and that's one is to have fond memories of the good things, and the other is to learn from the past. And so, but there's so we want to have a destination, a future that's full of hope, and this is what we can do. We want to learn from the past. We want to think in the moment. How do we enjoy the moment, live in the moment, but then also consider what did we learn in the past so we can apply it in the present, and then what are we going for in the future, and then that gets into delayed, decision making or delayed gratification, a whole bunch of other things. So hopefully that kind of helps. Other questions, Amy?
no, thank you. That's helpful. I'll be making a big decision this week and into next week.
Okay, all right, good for
I'll
you.
keep you all posted.
Yeah, you'll do a great job on it. You will.
Ugh.
Chris, what would you like to accomplish today?
I'd like to understand how to effectively manage communication differences a little bit better, especially when it feels like conflict with potential partners and clients. And by conflict, I mean just the way a person communicates, at least initially, even if we don't know each other very well, feels like my initial reaction is anger. And obviously,
Why
I
that is?
need I need to pause when agitated before I respond, but I'm finding that's happening a lot more frequently
Do you know why that is?
because I'm the elite of the mentally ill. I don't know.
Well, you've heard of high functioning alcoholics, right?
I have.
So I might be the highest functioning mentally ill person, of the 8 billion people on the planet. Just, just saying. And so I'm just being transparent here. So there's like in the last year, I've come to, I think, a belief system that we're never angry at other people. We're always angry at ourselves.
By that. Yep.
And Patrick Ryan, a friend of mine, he says that we take our anger not out on the fear of other people. We have a fear of people, something, a response, or how they're going to treat us or how they think of us or whatever. And so we fear people, but we don't take it out on the people we fear. We take it out on somebody else, the person that we don't fear. And so there's the symptom, right? And then there's the core. So symptomatically, you can go ahead and go into the white paper library, and 1-4 is clear communication, and that will be a white paper based on personalities. And so each personality will communicate in different ways. And so you can benefit a lot from that white paper. 1-1 is WIFM, what's in it for me? The concept of selfless selfishness. This 1-1 is designed to go ahead and eliminate self-righteousness. So the amiable is the one that tends to have the biggest challenge with self-righteousness, because they think literally everything that they do is because they're so caring. And they don't realize, no, you're just selfish, just like the rest of us. You're just as selfish. But nobody tells them that except for their spouse, typically, because they tell everybody what they want to hear, and everybody tells them how amazing they are. And so, but they're being selfish nonetheless. So this one here, consistent and committed. Most people think they're consistent and committed. This breaks it down and says maybe not as much. Drive and discipline, same thing. Many people think they're driven and disciplined. Like you can think you're a big fish if you're in a small pond, but when you get into another pond dimension, go to the next dimension, you realize you're not that driven, you're not that disciplined. Clear communication is 1-4. 1-5 is vaporization, self-vaporization. So I'm working on book number 17 and 18 right now. Nora and I are doing 18, and it's Your Voice in My Headset. It's a book on friendship. Years ago, I had a friend of mine who was a client of ours, and he says, Mark, you got to stop vaporizing people. I said, actually, I don't. He says, you really do. I said, no, I don't. He says, you do. We argued back and forth. He says, it's killing your business. I said, I don't really care. And he's like, then he rolls his eyes. He says, fine, it's killing my business. And I'm like, dang. Now I have, okay. So I went ahead, and every year I have a theme. This year's theme is growing. Last year's theme was connecting the dots. The year before that was not connecting the dots. I wanted to know what it was like to be stupid a whole year. And now I understand why. I'm thinking about doing it on a regular basis. It's pretty cool. And so I decided for a whole year not to vaporize people. So I had a guy, Nora and I had a guy, we were doing a 30-minute strategy session yesterday, and he said, I need more patience. Tom Coons said that a few years ago to me, where he said, Mark, I need more. On Thanksgiving, we were doing a podcast, and he said, I need more patience. I said, actually, you don't, Tom. He says, no, I really do. And we argued back and forth. And I said, he finally said, well, what do you think I need? I said, you need a system to help people around you to be less patient with themselves. He's like, ooh, that's pretty good. And I said, right. And he says, do you know how to do that? I'm like, absolutely. So on Thanksgiving that year, I wrote a white paper, and phase 1 is learning to think differently through engineered clarity. There's 5 white papers and then a book that my grandson helped co-author when he was 5 years old, how to be the best student in the world. So those are pretty cool resources. And then phase 2 is the income machine. And so thinking differently, trust. And then 2-3 is patience the silent killer. And so if you're an impatient person, you use this, you give this to all the people around you. Hopefully it triggers them to be less patient with themselves. And it's amazing when less people are less patient with themselves around you, how you can have patience then. It's really cool. So I think that will help you, Chris, the clear communication white paper. That's got some good stuff about, different personalities and how they listen and how they talk in very different ways. Literally, the four different personalities have different language. Like they use different words have different meaning. It's amazing. Anybody understands anybody, which we probably don't. But self-awareness, learning to understand ourselves is the first step. Anything else, Chris, that you have?
Not right now.
Okay. Nora, what you got?
I think you just answered it. I was thinking on how I could better communicate, but I just need to read the white paper again.
Nice, nice. So Nora said that she thought I answered it. I don't know if you guys could hear her because she's on speakerphone. And so she needs to read the white paper again. Now, just to, full disclosure, none of these white papers work. So I've written over 100 white papers. And so none of them work. Just so you know. Why are you both
Yeah.
smiling?
I say, why would you say like none of them work? Is there some kind of combination things, or why would they not work?
See, Amy likes to tease and tempt me, and I like to be teased and tempted and taunted by Amy, but my social autism often kicks in. And so with me, I don't like to write, I don't like to speak in front of people. But I need to do it to achieve my life vision, so I do it. But I don't like to. My international speaking coach, Linda Breakall, she said, Mark, you don't write a book to bestow your wisdom on other people. You write a book to gain deep wisdom and understanding on a particular topic. So I think that when somebody reads a white paper, they're going to email me and say, Mark, this white paper changed my life forever. I've never had, even my wife, like funny story. Like, so I don't know. We're like probably 23 years old, 22, 23 years old, a few years ago. She comes dancing out of, the bedroom, and she was reading in there or something, and she comes dancing out all cute and everything. And she's like, you're not going to believe this. I just read this book and this is what I learned. And I looked at her again, 3 years of marriage. Nobody explains this stuff to men. Like, men, see, give this to men. Like every man, give it to them because they're like, dang, I'm 70 years old and I don't even know that, right? Like nobody teaches us these things. So she tells me what she learned, and I kind of just did this to her. I'm like, like she's like, I know, I know. You've been trying to tell me that for 3 years, and I just had to read in a book. Now, this is a weird thing for a husband. Like, I know her, I live with her. Like, hello, I probably have some things that are worth. So 3 years, so I'm like, hey. And so naturally, what happens to me at this situation? Like in this situation, what happens to a normal guy?
I don't know if I knew normal guys.
Okay, any guy. Like your wife, you've been trying to help your wife learn and grow for 3 years. She doesn't learn and grow in that particular area. And she reads a book, and the author gets through to her and touches
Yeah.
her life, and she sees something that I haven't been. What's a guy going to feel?
Well, you're going to feel defeated, but it's the same as parenting. Like you could tell your kids one thing and they'd be like, "Oh, that's stupid. You're my parent." And then a teacher, a coach, or someone says the exact same thing. They're like, "Oh, I never heard that before." It's just, It's sometimes the source. Sometimes you're too close to the source, so you don't value that opinion maybe as much.
Explains a lot. I wish you were around, 38 years ago. So I'm going to share with my wife what I learned on the podcast this morning from Amy. I'm like, I'm going to apologize to her. I'm going to say, honey, I apologize. Like Amy taught me a lot on the, coffee connection this morning. And I just didn't realize you were like a child. And that's why I didn't understand you.
We all
Had to
should
take
have
it. Had to
childlike
take it
learning,
there,
by the
didn't you?
way. Sorry, Chris. What was that, Chris?
You had to take it there.
And I'm redeeming it with we all need to have childlike learning.
Right. So, no, I was jealous naturally. Here's this guy that doesn't even know her and he's making a bigger impact. So I'm a little bit jealous. I think that's one of the big motivations for me becoming a speaker and author. And, 16 books later, 100 white papers later, my wife's never responded to me like she did that guy there. It's okay. I'll just keep writing and one day I'm going to figure it out. So I think that these white papers are going to change people's life. Like, why would I write a stupid white paper? I don't like to write. Why would I write a stupid white paper if it's not going to change somebody's life? Now, fortunately, my international speaking coach, Linda Breakall, she says you don't write a book to go ahead and bestow your wisdom on other people. You write a book to go ahead and gain deep wisdom and under. So, worst case scenario, every one of these 100 white paper have helped me to have a better understanding of whatever topic I'm writing on. So, in phase two is going to be income machine. So, thinking differently, trust. Like we trust people we shouldn't and don't trust people we should. There's a science to that. So
Yes.
great white paper, you know, and then patience, the silent killer, biggest challenge to income, own a company, not a job, and community business partnerships, which is what Tom and I wrote together. Phase three is life vision, passion, leverage, and a whole lot more. This is discover my life vision, seeing and being, dimensional living, next dimension principle, unlimited bandwidth, and leverage. And then phase five is my biggest challenge is me. This is the secret about time. I'm overwhelmed, intentionality and discipline. Why I choose not to succeed. This is a great white paper. Like, great. This thing is phenomenal. Follow through and then quantum thinking. And then phase five is, awaken, ownership, work, care, fast and slow, and the wizardess. These I haven't written. Is so when you read a white paper and you say, you just email me and just Chris, if you email me and just say, Mark, this clear communication white paper sucks. It's the worst thing. Just a total waste of time. No, seriously, that'll motivate. I'll like that. I'll give you a hug. I'm like, oh, he's honest with me. Like, and then you go, then we have a conversation like it didn't work. Okay, fine. So then we can go ahead and go in and dig deeper and take that to another dimension. Why didn't it work? Like, so I'm curious, like, okay, why didn't it work? So nobody says this changed my life forever, which is okay. I like it. I would rather have somebody say the white paper sucks, honestly, because then I can improve it. Like, if they're saying it changed my life forever, I'm probably going to be like, my daughters say nice things to me normally when they want something. Do you want something from me? No, I mean, I'm well, kind of, yes. So if you have suggestions on the white paper, you have a question on the white paper, you think something could improve, it's supposed to be a collaborative community, a community type of thing. Like you can write, we can give you access to the document and you can go in and ask questions, answers. You can approach it from a different way. So it's supposed to create dialogue and it doesn't, but I love people and don't like them. So I guess that's okay. I don't know. So, all right. I got a little bit off track. Sorry about that. Anybody else have anything else?
Have you ever done an A/B test with your wife? Like you give her a copy of one of your books without your name on it and tell her that you read it and you thought it was you think she might find value in it and let her read it without your name in it and see what she thinks?
That's nice, Chris. It's a good thought. It's weird on how my wife doesn't, 41 years of marriage, and she does not understand me. She just doesn't. She just like, I'm like, honey, you just explained yourself to me. Like you've been married to me for 41 years. Like, what do you think I'm going to respond to that? And she gets, she's like, she knows how I'm going to respond. But Chris, if I gave her, I have a very distinct way of writing. And so she knows what that distinct way is. And so she'd think I was tricking her to get her to read something that I didn't. But maybe with AI, I could do that. That's a great idea. Like my granddaughter, Micaiah, she goes ahead and she's like, when she was 3, she's 5 now. When she was 3, she and I were dancing downtown Shipshe together at a table on a sidewalk, and she says, "Grandpa, Grandpa, Grandpa." I'm like, "Yeah, honey." She's like, "I have a great idea." I'm like, "What's your idea?" So an idea is something pretty cool, right? But an idea, that takes it to another level of excitement. So there's odias, and odias are like, "Oh my goodness, let's dance, let's get excited about it." And so that's a great idea, to take AI and change my writing and then give it to my wife and see if I need that for my kids, because the same thing was true with my kids. Like it's just, although, did you guys ever hear my song that Nora and I and my oldest daughter wrote?
I did not.
You
It,
guys want to hear it? You guys
yeah,
got
play it.
All right. So it's in Do You Hear My Voice Now? And it's right here. And so this is a good one.
Is it called Honey, You Are a Goofball?
Yep. Oops, sorry. Sorry. Okay.
I thought I fell in love with you, or maybe who you could have been. You made me feel complete, but dreams turned into pain again. You wanted love, but not to love. You chased the feeling, not the truth. Now I see you're just a boy, hiding in a man's shoes. You're a goofball, wanted a wife, but not a man's role. Wanted kids, but not a father's soul. Wanted love, but wouldn't grow. You wanted to be something, but you chose to be nothing, and I accept that. You were sweet in the early days, but only for the feeling you get. You won't ask so well, but I've seen through it now, and I won't forget. Even our little boy knows how to care. He shields my heart while you're never there. He's more a man at 2 years old than you've ever been in the stories you told. You're a goofball, wanted a wife but not a man's role. Wanted kids but not a father's soul. Wanted love but wouldn't grow. You wanted to be something, but you chose to be nothing, and I accept that. You fooled the church, the friends, your mom, with words and scriptures in your palm. But hearts don't lie and mine is bruised, and honey, I am done being used. I dreamed we rise together. Now I rise in spite of you. becoming the woman I was made to be. While you're dancing your deja vu, you're a goofball, wanted a wife but not a man's role, wanted kids but not a father's soul, wanted love but wouldn't grow. You wanted to be something, but you chose to be nothing, and I accept that. And I accept that. You fooled the church, the friends, your mom, with words and scriptures in your palm. But hearts don't lie, and mine is bruised. And honey, I am done being used. I dream we rise together. Now I rise in spite of you, becoming the woman I was made to be. While you're dancing your deja vu, you're a goofball, wanted a wife but not a man's role, wanted kids but not a father's soul, wanted love but wouldn't grow. You wanted to be something, but you chose to be nothing, and I accept that.
Wow.
Right? Like that one I showed with my second oldest daughter. I played it out on swim lessons. I said, there's this cool song out there. You got to listen to it. And then the two granddaughters that they have, they started dancing with me on the sidewalk to this song. And she's looking at me and she's like, and then her husband's like, what's going on? She's like, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I don't know. I haven't heard this song before. I don't know. It seems like my dad had something to do.
I mean, it's pretty pointed.
Like, wouldn't you love to be my son-in-law?
Oh, oh, oh my goodness.
You guys are awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.